There is a shift beginning inside you. And this one is different. It is not subtle. It is not something you can ignore or push aside like you may have done before. This time, it touches something deeper, something connected to your emotional life, your desires, and the way you see your future. Because there is a realization growing inside you. Things are not aligned the way you want them to be, especially when it comes to love. You begin to look at your life and feel that something is out of place. Something is not flowing the way it should. And instead of accepting it, you begin to question it. You begin to feel the need for change. Not a small change, a real one. A shift in direction, a new beginning, a different way of experiencing your emotional life. And this feeling becomes stronger with time. You no longer want to repeat the same patterns. You no longer want to go through the same emotional cycles. You want something new, something that feels alive, something that gives you energy instead of draining it. And this is where everything starts to move. Because once you reach this level of awareness, you cannot go back to the way things were. Now, something very important is also happening. Your mind is opening. You begin to see solutions where you previously saw obstacles. You begin to understand situations in a different way. And this shift in perception changes everything. Because when your perspective changes, your reality follows. Now, at the same time, this internal awakening is happening. There is also movement around you. Situations involving people, family, connections, decisions, and even opportunities that you have been postponing. Because there is something else that needs to be addressed. You have been delaying something important, something you want to do, and something you feel called to explore, something that could expand your life. But you keep saying, later, not now. I'll do it when the time is right. And the truth is, the time will not come on its own. You have to decide. You have to act. Because this phase is not just about reflection. It is about movement. Now pay attention, because what unfolds from here involves emotional transformation, powerful attraction, and chemistry decisions that affect your future and situations that will test your judgment. There is a moment in your life right now where something inside you becomes impossible to ignore, and that something is directly connected to your emotional world, especially your love life. You begin to look at your situation with a level of honesty that you may have avoided before, and what you see does not fully satisfy you. It is not necessarily that everything is wrong. It is that something feels misaligned. Something feels incomplete. Something feels like it no longer represents what you truly want. And this realization begins to grow. At first, it may come as a subtle discomfort, a feeling that something is off. But over time, it becomes clearer, more defined, more impossible to ignore. You start to understand that you need change, not a small adjustment, but a real transformation. You want something new, something that breaks the pattern you have been living. Because there is one thing that becomes very strong in your energy. You do not want to repeat the same emotional cycles. You do not want to relive the same situations. You do not want to go through the same endings. And this awareness is powerful because it forces you to look at your life differently. You begin to ask yourself, what exactly do I want now? What no longer makes sense for me? What am I holding on to that no longer aligns with my growth? And these questions begin to shift your behavior. Now, something very important happens here. Your mind opens. You start to see possibilities where before you saw limitations. You begin to understand that there are other ways of approaching your emotional life, other ways of building connections, other ways of creating something that actually fulfills you. And this brings a sense of movement, a sense that you are no longer stuck. But at the same time, this movement also brings uncertainty. Because when you decide to change, you step into the unknown, and that can feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Now, alongside this emotional shift, there is another important aspect being activated in your life. Your desire to learn, to grow, to expand your knowledge. There is something calling you. It could be a course, a new skill, a new area of study, something that sparks your curiosity, and you feel it. You feel the interest. You feel the pull. You feel the excitement of what it could become. But at the same time, you delay it. You tell yourself, I'll start later. I'll organize myself first. I'll do it when I have more time. And this creates a pattern of postponement. You want it, but you don't act on it. And this is something that needs to change, because this opportunity for growth is directly connected to your evolution. Now, here comes an important realization. The only thing standing between you and that growth is your decision, your action, your commitment, because the opportunity is there. The desire is there. The potential is there. But action is missing. And this phase pushes you toward that action. It pushes you to stop delaying, to stop waiting for the perfect moment, and to create that moment yourself. Now, something else begins to unfold around you. You become more aware of the people in your environment, their situations, their struggles, their decisions, and you begin to observe more carefully because there is someone close to you who is going through a situation of uncertainty, someone who feels dissatisfied with where they are, and you notice it. You see their discomfort, you see their hesitation, and you feel a sense of responsibility, a desire to support them, to guide them, to encourage them. And this creates a connection between your process and theirs. Because while you are going through internal change, they are going through external uncertainty, and your presence becomes important in that moment. But here is the key: you can support, but you cannot decide for them. You can encourage, but you cannot carry their path. And this distinction becomes essential because this phase is teaching you not only to transform your own life, but also to understand your limits in relation to others. After everything that begins to shift inside you, there comes a moment where something releases. And this release is powerful because it is not something external changing first. It is something inside you letting go. There is a strong energy here of closure, but not in a negative sense, not in a painful ending, in a liberating way. It is as if you reach a point where you look at certain situations in your life and say, I don't need to carry this anymore. And this changes everything. Because up until now, you may have been holding on to things that no longer served you, expectations that were no longer aligned, emotional weight that was no longer necessary, situations that had already ended, but were still living inside you. And now, you begin to release. There is a symbolic energy here of the coffin, not as loss, but as closure, as the ability to let something rest, to stop revisiting it, to stop reliving it, to stop allowing it to define your present. And this is one of the most important shifts of this phase, because when you release something internally, you create space. Space for something new, space for something lighter, space for something that actually aligns with who you are becoming. Now, something very interesting happens as a result of this release. You begin to feel lighter. And not just emotionally, mentally, energetically, even physically in some cases. It is as if a pressure that you had been carrying for a long time begins to dissolve. And along with that comes a new perspective. You begin to see your life differently. You begin to approach situations with more calm, with more patience, with less internal pressure. And this is extremely important because there is something very clear here. You have been too hard on yourself. You have demanded too much. You have judged yourself too harshly. And this phase brings a different approach, a softer one, a more respectful one toward your own process. You begin to say to yourself, I don't need to push myself this hard. I can move forward without destroying myself in the process. I can respect my own timing. And this creates balance because growth does not need to come from pressure. It can come from awareness. Now, this internal shift also changes the way you relate to life. You begin to look at things with more lightness, with less emotional weight attached to everything. You stop reacting the same way. You stop carrying things that are not yours. And this is where your energy transforms. Because instead of being pulled by situations, you begin to stand in your own center. Now, something very important to understand, this change does not come from the outside. It is not because your life suddenly becomes perfect. It is because you change the way you see it. And that is much more powerful because when you change your perception, you change your experience. Now, alongside this sense of relief, there is also a strengthening of your internal stability. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to feel more secure in your decisions. You begin to understand that you don't need external validation to move forward. And this gives you power, a quiet power, a grounded power, the kind of power that does not need to prove anything because it knows. Now, this phase is not about rushing. It is not about forcing outcomes. It is about allowing things to settle, to reorganize, to align naturally. And as this happens, your life begins to reflect that internal balance. Situations that once felt heavy no longer affect you the same way. People who once triggered you lose that power. And this is how you know the transformation is real. Not because everything around you changed, but because you did. As you begin to feel lighter within yourself, life starts to bring situations around you that test your emotional balance in a different way. This time, it is not about you directly. It is about someone close to you, someone whose situation begins to draw your attention. You start to notice that this person is not fully satisfied with where they are. There is discomfort. There is hesitation. There is a feeling inside them that something needs to change, and this becomes more visible to you. It may come through conversations, through small comments, through subtle signs that reveal their internal conflict. And you observe, you understand that they are going through a moment of decision, a moment where they are questioning their current situation. And for many, this connects to physical space, where they live, where they work, the environment they are part of. There is a sense that they no longer belong where they are, but at the same time, they don't yet know what to do, and this creates instability. Now, here is where you enter the situation, because you feel a sense of responsibility toward this person. You feel the urge to support them, to encourage them, to help them see that they have options. And in some cases, you may even feel that they depend on your opinion, that your words carry weight in their decision. And this is true. Your presence matters. Your perspective influences them. But there is a very important boundary here. You cannot make the decision for them. You cannot carry their process. You cannot take responsibility for what they choose. And this is where emotional maturity is required. Because when you care about someone, it is natural to want to help. But helping does not mean controlling. Helping does not mean directing their life. Helping means offering support without taking ownership of their path. Now, something else begins to unfold within this situation. You start to see their potential. You see that they are capable of change. You see that they have the ability to improve their situation. But you also see their hesitation, their fear, their uncertainty. And this can create frustration in you, because from your perspective, the solution may seem clear. But for them, it is not. And this difference in perception becomes a challenge, because you have to balance two things: your desire to help and your need to respect their timing. Now, the energy here shows that this situation will not remain unresolved forever. There is movement, there is change, there is a shift that happens over time. And for many, this becomes clearer toward the end of June. This person begins to understand their situation better. They begin to make decisions. They begin to move. But until that happens, there is a period of observation, a period where you watch more than you act. And this requires patience, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not intervene. Now, alongside this situation, there is also something happening within you. This experience reflects something back to you. It shows you how far you have come in your own process. Because while this person is still uncertain, you are becoming more clear. While they are still hesitating, you are learning to decide. And this contrast is important because it reminds you of your own growth. It shows you that you are no longer in the same place you once were. And that awareness strengthens you. It grounds you. It helps you understand your own evolution. Now, the lesson here is not just about helping others. It is about understanding your limits, understanding where your responsibility ends, understanding that not everything is yours to solve. And once you understand that, you preserve your energy, you protect your peace, and you continue your own path without being pulled into situations that are not yours to carry. There is a situation approaching you that will test your emotional control in a very specific way. And this situation involves someone you care about, someone important to you, someone whose choices begin to concern you deeply, because you start to see this person moving in a direction that, from your perspective, is not good for them. You notice changes in their behavior. You notice the influence of another person entering their life. And what you feel is not comfort, it is concern. Because there is something about this new influence that does not sit well with you. You sense that this person is not a positive presence. You feel that their intentions are not aligned with growth. And even if you cannot fully explain it, you feel it. Your intuition becomes very sharp in this moment, and it tells you clearly something here is not right. Now, this creates a very strong internal reaction because your instinct is to act, to speak, to warn, to intervene. You want to protect the person you care about. You want to prevent them from making a mistake. You want to say, be careful. This is not good for you. You are going down the wrong path. But here is where the situation becomes complex. The energy shows that this is not the moment for strong intervention. Not because you are wrong, but because your words may not be received the way you intend. This person is not in a phase where they are fully open to guidance. They are experiencing something. They are exploring something. And because of that, they may resist advice. They may ignore warnings. They may even push back if you try to interfere too strongly. And this creates frustration in you because you can clearly see what is happening. You can clearly feel the direction this is going. And yet, you cannot control it. Now, the message here is very direct. You must be careful with how much you intervene. Because too much pressure can damage your connection with this person. Too much insistence can create distance. Too much intensity can make them close off. And that is not what you want. So instead of acting impulsively, you are being guided to act with strategy, to observe more than react, to speak only when necessary, to choose your words carefully. Now, this does not mean you should remain completely silent. It means you should be intentional. You can express concern, but without confrontation. You can offer perspective, but without imposing it. You can be present without trying to control the outcome. And this is where emotional maturity is required. Because sometimes protecting someone does not mean stopping them. It means allowing them to experience and trusting that they will learn. Now, something very important appears in this situation. This is temporary. The connection this person is forming does not show long-term stability. There is movement here. There is distance that eventually happens. There is a shift that leads this person away from that influence. And for many, this becomes clearer toward the end of June. This person begins to see things differently. They begin to understand what you already sensed. They begin to recognize what was not good for them, and they adjust. But until that happens, there is a period where you must hold your position, a period where patience is essential, a period where restraint becomes your strength. Now, alongside all of this, there is also something happening within you. This situation tests your ability to trust your intuition without needing immediate validation. It tests your ability to care without losing yourself in someone else's path. And this is a powerful lesson because it teaches you balance. The balance between connection and independence. The balance between helping and letting go. And once you understand that balance, you become stronger, more centered, more stable, and you preserve your energy, even in emotionally challenging situations. Now the energy shifts again, but this time it becomes undeniable. It moves into one of the most powerful areas of your life right now: attraction, connection, desire, and emotional intensity. Because after everything you have been processing internally, after everything you have been learning about boundaries, awareness, and emotional clarity, something begins to activate around you. And it is strong. Very strong. There is a magnetic energy surrounding you, an energy that draws attention, an energy that makes people notice you, even when you are not trying. And this is not subtle. People feel it. People react to it. People become curious about you. And in many cases, they become attracted to you. Now, this is where things become very interesting, because this energy does not attract just one person. It attracts multiple. There are several interactions happening at the same time, several possibilities, several people showing interest in you in different ways. And this creates movement, a lot of movement. Now, for those who are already in a relationship, this energy still exists and it becomes intense within your connection. There is chemistry, there is attraction, there is a renewed sense of desire. It is as if the connection becomes more alive, more active, more emotionally and physically engaging. You feel it, the other person feels it, and this creates a phase that can be very strong, very passionate. But here comes something important. This same energy also attracts attention from outside. Other people may begin to show interest in you, even if you are not looking for it, even if you are not inviting it. And this is where awareness becomes essential, because you must decide how to handle this attention. You must define your boundaries. You must choose what aligns with your intentions and what does not. Now, for those who are not currently in a relationship, this phase becomes even more dynamic, because the opportunities multiply. You may meet people in different environments, events, social gatherings, online spaces, unexpected encounters. And what stands out is this: the attraction is mutual. You are not chasing. You are being noticed. You are being approached. And in many cases, you will have more than one option. And this creates a new kind of challenge, choice. Because having options means you need to decide, you need to evaluate, you need to understand what truly aligns with you and what does not. Now, there is also a very strong energy connected to someone from the past, an ex, or someone with whom there is unfinished emotional energy. And this person comes back, not in a passive way, in an intense way, with desire, with emotional charge, with a strong intention to reconnect. And this is one of the strongest points of this entire phase, because for many of you, this reconnection is possible, very possible. But here is where everything depends on you, because the energy is open, but the decision is yours. Do you want to go back? Do you want to reopen that connection? Do you believe something new can be built from it? Or do you choose to move forward? This is where your judgment becomes essential, because the energy is strong, but not everything that is strong is meant to stay. Now, something very important appears here. You must not move on autopilot. You must not let the situation carry you without awareness, because the movement is intense, the attraction is high, the opportunities are many, but without clarity, you can lose direction. This is where your inner balance becomes your guide. You must ask yourself, what do I truly want? What aligns with my growth? What brings me stability, not just excitement? Because excitement alone is not enough. Now, the final message of this phase is this. You are entering a moment where your emotional life expands, where possibilities open, where connections intensify. But this is not just about experiencing. It is about choosing with awareness, choosing with clarity, choosing with truth. Because the more conscious your choices are, the more aligned your future becomes. And that is what defines everything from this point forward.